Sectarianism is a reality of life. Because
Human.
sects exist. Because sects exist, and because people naturally incline towards the charisma of a person. And then it's all down to how that person educates them. So therefore, it's sad for me to say this, right? And I'm just as much a danger to you perhaps, right? But it's sad to say it, but we head leaders of sects and people who teach are responsible for sectarianism, because we teach in a sectarian way. Do you understand? Because we are supposed to help people because sectarianism is a natural tendency, because people generally naturally develop loyalties, naturally develop a sense of awe. They get awestruck by the charisma of an individual. Do you understand? We're supposed to educate them in a way that rational thought, that they understand their religion in a rational way, so that can emancipate them from an excessive loyalty, an excessive blind following. But we don't educate people like that. Do you understand? When it comes to every other aspect of your education, you're a perfectly logical doctor. You're a perfectly logical lawyer. You're perfectly logical about all of that, right? But when it comes to religion, you're an idiot. Like, you don't think at all. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to do the zikr. It's like, hang on a second. Why does all of that intelligence that you apply in every other aspect of your life get suspended when it comes to your religiosity? So on the one hand, there's this, right? On the other hand, there is also this sense. Of, because we're struggling so much with issues of identity and so on and so forth. People. For a lot of people, they frame religiosity in terms of identity. They frame religiosity in terms of belonging to a group. Do you understand? And that's what makes them feel good. And they confuse that with spirituality.
Is it like a tribal kind of?
Yes. They confuse the feel-good factor of being among others, right, with spirituality and religiosity. Does that make sense? But what I'm saying to you is not a judgment one way or the other. So just because people behave in that way, or there are people who behave in that way, doesn't mean they're bad. Do you understand? It's just that we have to take our own precautions and make sure that we give understanding a chance. And it may well be that there's a group that we really value. Like I'm very, like my heart is very close, genuinely, to the Tablighis. But it's because of a number of reasons. One, my father is Tablighi. Two, I studied in the Tablighi madrasa. Three, I've spent time in Tabligh. Right? So I've seen the good of it. But also, from my understanding of Deen, I also have some very, very strong criticisms. Does that make sense? But I have a natural, bias in their favor for the good that their group achieves. You understand what I mean? Everybody has that, right? You're always going to feel a natural affinity to the people that brought you into Deen, for the people through whom you became religious. But that shouldn't put you in a position where you just blindly accept everything. You understand? And also, what you accept and don't accept shouldn't be based on a kind of empty cynicism for the sake of it. It should be based on knowledge. It should be based on asking and being able to evaluate answers based on, does that make sense? Doesn't it make sense? And so on. Does that make sense? Generally, I would say, if people are really blatantly sectarian in their behavior, in the way they teach and so on and so forth, you should be cautious. Do you understand? Because too many times religious leaders, it's almost a condition that we suffer from, right? Like, too many times it's more important to have a following, right? Because if you teach people in a manner that emancipates them and like really, really enlightens them and doesn't necessarily call upon them to follow you, do you understand? You teach people in that way, then essentially you're kind of teaching, but you're also asking people to think for themselves. Those people are less likely to become blind followers of anybody. When I say blind followers, I don't mean madhabs and things like that. I don't mean fiqh. I mean in a more social kind of context, in a more as religion plays out in society, in that way, in a community context, right? People aren't going to blindly follow her. They're more likely to become people who'll benefit from everyone, right? Who'll go to one teacher from one group because they speak about seerah really, really well, but then go to another teacher from another group because they do brilliant talks on on politics and Islam, or they'll go to another person because they really excellently present issues of matters of the heart and matters of spirituality and so on, and they'll go to another person who perhaps is committed to another group who teaches fiqh really well. They might take their learning from not one institute but multiple institutions, and that's exactly how we should be. Does that make sense? There's good everywhere, there's bad everywhere as well. Right, take the good whatever. Da'ma safa, the philosophy of da'ma safa, khudh ma safa wa da'ma kadar. Take what is clear, leave what is unclear, right? What is bad. And